At 5 o'clock this Wednesday, a big move in the effort to bring a data center to the east side of Indy. We have how neighbors are reacting and what it means for the community that's right in the midst of this fight.
Plus, cause for an arrest, why a special prosecutor wants to see the Johnson County coroner back in jail after he was released on bond.
Also, a family starts to get closure tonight after a woman was killed in a hit and run in downtown Indianapolis. We have how police shared that they were able to track down the man who's accused in her death. Angela.
And today is the second day in a row with highs in the 90s and more in the forecast. I'll have the numbers.
Tonight, the Metropolitan Development Commission just gave their final vote on the data center proposed in Irvington at the old Ford plant.
Ella Rhodes spent this day listening in on the hearing that ended just a little more than an hour ago. So, Ella, what did they decide?
In a 6-1 vote, they approved DC Blocks to build its data center over in Irvington, and the room really just erupted in shouting and a lot of expletives we obviously cannot air on TV. The community was showing their frustration about this decision. I actually want to take you to take a look from earlier. This was people who were protesting the data center coming to Irvington an hour before the meeting actually started at 1. So community protested and rallied in opposition of DC Blocks coming to the Irvington area. People passionately shared their frustrations and concerns with the project. DC Blocks presented also at the meeting this hearing and responded to the community. They did make adjustments to their recent plan as well. So it's just 2 buildings with 31 generators. I want you to, though, take a listen to what the 2 city councilors who represent the areas that are directly impacted from the center had to say. Andy Nielsen against the center and Michael Paulhart in support of it.
I'm also very disappointed and I'm very upset because I feel really deeply for my community who showed up and didn't leave anything on the table. You know, they said what they needed to say. They're very upset because they're really concerned.
Nothing was not thought about. It was a really thought through process, and that's the part that I know people don't see, but they need to certainly know about.
Eastside Community Action is currently raising money to pay for a lawyer so they can appeal this decision. That group is represented by dozens of community members who are, again, against this data center coming to their neighborhood. And once again, the commission did approve the data center, the DC Blocks data center for Irvington. And Alex Almanza will continue the coverage on Reaction tonight. Anna Felicia.
All right, Ella reporting live for us tonight. Thank you. So this data center debate continues to spark conversation at the city level.
City county councilors just voted to move forward with the proposed moratorium on new data center developments.
City County Council President Maggie Lewis now sponsoring the proposal that would replace the original regulations with this pause on new data center approvals. She says the city needs more time to study the industry and also to hear from residents involved.
So the moratorium would end no later than December 31st of 2027, and there's a chance it could end sooner if new regulations are ready. The proposed moratorium still has to clear a couple more hurdles before it could take effect, and it doesn't include this Irvington project because it was already in the works. Again, it was a proposed moratorium on new developments.
And new tonight, a special prosecutor now is calling for the arrest of Johnson County coroner Mike Pruitt.
The prosecutor is accusing him of violating a no-contact order in his pending criminal case. Pruitt is facing several charges after a 17-year-old girl's family said he stalked her, sent her unwanted text messages, and gave her alcohol.
So this no-contact order against Pruitt means that he cannot communicate with the girl. But prosecutors allege that last month he FaceTimed an old group chat, including the girl, and then claimed it was a butt dial. The special judge set a hearing for August 6th. Pruitt is ordered to attend that.
Developing tonight, police have arrested the driver who they say hit a woman with his car in downtown Indy and left her for dead. 26-year-old Brianna Evans was riding an e-scooter at the time. It happened Saturday morning at Pennsylvania and Maryland streets.
Just devastating for the family. And tonight, our Ashton Hackman explains how police say they were able to find the suspect and how that grieving mother tonight remembers her daughter.
My daughter has been with me since the moment this happened.
Tammy Morris says even after her death, her daughter, Brianna, never stopped pushing for answers.
My daughter finally got some rest last night.
Tuesday night, police arrested the driver accused of hitting Evans and leaving her to die. The 26-year-old came to Indianapolis chasing the future, a future cut short in just seconds. Evans was riding an e-scooter when she was hit in the crosswalk. The driver kept going.
Leaving the scene of a crash is a serious crime. Choosing to leave the scene of a crash is a deliberate choice, and it is a choice that has serious consequences.
But pieces of the car stayed behind. Witnesses described a gray Dodge Challenger. The debris helped confirm it.
Police say after the crash, the driver continued east on Maryland before turning onto Virginia Avenue. License plate readers helped police track the vehicle to its driver.
Detectives later found the Challenger under a tarp at a home the suspect was at. Court docs allege the car parts left at the scene matched the damage. Police arrested the 40-year-old man who owned the car. Court records show he has prior driving offenses for speeding and driving without a license and a felony sexual battery conviction from 2004.
This man needs taken off the street. He doesn't need to be allowed to hurt anybody else.
Morris says Brianna was fearless, a shining light, and rooted in faith. Faith now guiding her family as the path to justice starts.
Even what the judge does to him here on this earth and in Indiana, there's one judge he can't run from. And the day he has his judgment day with God is going to be horrific.
Now the man accused of leaving Brianna Evans to die awaits judgment in the courtroom. In Indianapolis, Ashton Hackman, 13 News.
Also developing, another family is suing a now closed Brownsburg daycare over child sex abuse allegations. This latest suit makes similar claims to a handful of others, saying 22-year-old Gabriel Garner sexually abused children while he worked at Main Street University for Kids. Garner is currently behind bars, charged with nearly 50 counts of varying child sex crimes. The lawsuit also accuses the daycare's former director and owner of failure to report after concerns were raised.
Some pretty big changes are on the way for Indiana's minority and women-owned business contracting program because it's going away. Wednesday, Governor Mike Braun announced he is ending Indiana's race and sex-based contracting programs and replacing them with what he calls a merit-based system. The announcement was made alongside Attorney General Todd Rokita, who says that parts of Indiana's Diversity Business Enterprise, or DBE program, are unconstitutional. That program has been around since 1983, and it required state agencies to direct a portion of state contract dollars to businesses owned by women and minorities. Now, one thing that's not changing, any preferences for veteran-owned businesses will stay in place. So what's next? The Attorney General's office says it'll now work with the Indiana Department of Administration on that transition in getting rid of the current DBE program. You can read a full statement from the governor right now at WTHR.com.
All right, Jalea Brooks there. And Indiana just ended its fiscal year with an almost $2 billion surplus.
The surplus is expected to continue into next year. So the state budget agency estimates the state will add another $1.3 billion to the state cash reserves coming up in 27.
So the cash is a bit of a surprise. In 2025, the state was expecting tax revenue to grow by less than 1%. Instead, it came in at almost 7%.
What this amounts to is that we now have options. So when it comes to things that we need to do better, the high cost of health care in this state, one of the highest in the country with some of the poorest outcomes. We all struggle with that. That's part of affordability.
Democrats agree with the governor that funding should help with health care costs. Indianapolis Representative Ed Delaney writing in part, quote, "The public doesn't feel the benefits of an extra $1.1 billion when our coffers, when over 18,000 Hoosiers sit on Medicaid wait lists or see their Affordable Care Act premiums rise or learn hundreds of child care centers have closed because of cuts."
All right, let's talk about weather here today. As you can see, it is hazy outside, and we already know it's hot and humid too. Angela, this is similar to yesterday, and it looks like it'll be similar to tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you're going to go outside, be prepared to get a little bit sweaty. Jenny Runovich and I were like, oh, let's go take a little lap around the parking lot. Normally we do 2 or 3. We did 1. We're like, back in the AC.
One was
Smart.
enough. It is quite warm.
Listening.
A sauna.
Listening. Yes.
You were. It doesn't take but a few minutes. So your walk into Gamebridge tonight, you will be glistening as well. You may feel like you've got a fever, rooting on our fever. Temperatures in the upper 80s and low 90s right now. Our fever back at home. That is an 8 o'clock tip-off. And it is hot. It is humid. Take it easy late this afternoon and early this evening. And you'll want to take it easy again tomorrow afternoon during peak heating. Air quality an issue. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And the heat is an issue as well. We'll take you into the eastern part of the state. You may notice at times the sky looks a little milky. That's that wildfire smoke. That's having an impact on air quality. We'll take you into Bainbridge as well. Mix of sun and clouds. It's hot. It's humid. Temperatures right now in the upper 80s and low 90s. We have 91 in Indianapolis, 90 in Lafayette, Kokomo, 89 Bloomington, and 91 degrees in Columbus. There's the heat advisory for the next couple of hours. We go back under a heat advisory for tomorrow, and again, we are not alone. On the edge of all of this heat, we do find some rain and storms. Some of this moisture south will get a little closer to us tomorrow. Can't rule out a pop-up tomorrow afternoon and evening. The big story continues to be the heat with highs in the low to mid 90s.
All right, Angela, thanks so much. Today is Muncie Mayor Dan Ridenour's first day back on the job after he had successful cancer surgery. In fact, to mark the occasion, he posted this video on Facebook letting people know that he's doing okay. The mayor says he still is in rehab, and so he plans to be working half days for the rest of this week. And his office is still working on what the schedule might look like for him moving forward. Ridenour announced his prostate cancer diagnosis late April and has been on leave ever since.
We have to be mindful that this is a choice that people make, and we have the right to choose our faith here in America.
The Muslim community now seeking protection from the state after comments from one of Indiana's top leaders, how they're now coming together to support each other. Ahead.
And there's still no clear end in sight to the conflict between the U.S. and Iran, how tensions are rising now that the ceasefire is over.
It has been 18 days since the Indiana Fever have played here at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Coming up after the break, I'll give you a preview of their matchup with the Golden State Valkyries in 13 Sports.